Dylan, man, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me, mate. Happy New Year.
Hopefully, it was a good start to the year as well for you and the businesses.
Yeah, it's been good, dude. We're currently 6 days into the year. I don't know if it's a very different New Year than normal. Usually, like around New Year's time, I'm partying a lot and going out, and all everyone's around. But this year's been very different. It's been a lot more quieter, a lot of more reflection, and I guess goal setting, and not as much partying. It's been nice, very different. But yeah, it's kicked off the year nice and wholesome, man. It's been good.
You've built a life that looks like the dream for so many. Like you're running businesses, you're traveling, you're creating content to over 100,000 followers. But behind that, I think there's a real story of risk, of judgment, and then growth coming out of that. When you first started, did you ever feel held back by that fear of judgment?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think a lot of people struggle with it, especially like in the content space or, even just doing something like a little bit unconventional to what your mates are doing, whatever. I guess to answer your question, like I started making videos back in like the very start of high school, back when I was 12. Got a GoPro for my 12th birthday, started filming me and my mates going surfing. And like very quick, when everyone starts drinking and getting to that social setting in the later years of high school, I was always like out on the weekend posting YouTube videos to like 15, 20 people watching. And, it's because I loved it. And I found my passion very early on. I'm very grateful for that. But I think receiving like a lot of backlash in high school and getting kind of caught an outsider and, being a bit of an outcast for, I guess, not fitting in with what everyone else is doing and not wanting to go a normal job and wanting to follow this route of making videos on the internet. When I finally did start getting an audience after I graduated from high school, I already kind of didn't give a fuck, if I'm being honest. I was
Yeah.
already good enough during my high school years. And yeah, I just, at the end of the day, people, no one's going to give you shit if they're coming from a higher up spot from you. It's always from people that are too scared to take that leap themselves. So
Before we obviously started recording, I mentioned another one of my guests, Jacob Blight, and he put it amazingly that no one above you is ever going to punch down or trying to sort of, put someone else down that's trying to come up to their level. So I think
yeah.
you've hit the nail on the head there. What was the moment? Then you said you were making content in high school. What was the moment you realized posting content online could turn into something bigger than just sort of sharing just for fun?
It's a good question. I think I started like running a little freelance business, like probably when I was 15, 16, just kind of using my videography skills with my little Canon 880D that I used to have back in the day, like filming little ads for the cafes nearby. I used to work at the local surf shop, used to do all their social media, film all like the surf school lessons. And I wasn't making much money, maybe $1,000, $2,000 a month back then, but in high school it was sick. And I guess I kind of always looked up to crew a couple years older than me that were doing social media back in the day, like Jay Alvarez, Alex Hayes. It's actually a bunch of Perth boys, all the Calais crew, like Liam Farwell, Zach White, who I used to just admire. And I would see them just like living this dream lifestyle, like you said before. And it was all funded or fueled from like the videos they created on social media. And I guess I just like aspired to it from a very young age, experimented with different businesses, freelancing, running, an agency, doing ads for brands around my local home. And then eventually getting paid just to make videos for myself on social media once I grew an audience.
You also mentioned that kind of when you came out of high school, you kind of didn't even care anymore about the negative comments. But obviously, that's something that can really affect people. What
Yeah.
was your approach with dealing with them early on?
I think you always got to play into it a little bit. I think people comment stuff hoping that they get a reaction out of you. And I think if you play into it and you don't give them what they want and, you kind of take the piss out of yourself a little bit, it almost turns those people into like, oh yeah, this guy's actually kind of cool. He doesn't care what we say. He's not going to care what we say in the next post. So we're just going to keep watching. And yeah, it is tough. Like I've had countless moments, man, over the last 4 years since I've done this full time where every now and again a comment can creep in for sure. And you can have a video of 100 comments and 95 of them could be absolutely great, praising you, appreciating what you're doing. And then there's five that, stand out from the rest of people trying to pull you down. And they're the five you focus on. It's weird how the brand works, but I think just trying to realize there's a lot more love out there than there is hate. And also accepting the fact that at the end of the day, if you are going to put yourself out there on social media to, anyone that's on Instagram or TikTok or whatever social media platform it is, you are going to cop some flack. Everyone's got different opinions. It's the way the world works. And I guess you kind of got to prepare for that. But yeah, at the core of it all, just remember that a bodybuilder's never going to judge someone for getting the gym the first time. An influencer's never going to judge someone for making their first ever video. A business owner's never going to judge someone for someone trying to have a startup and having a first crack. So it's never coming from above. And yeah, stay in your own lane and do what you love, and the rest will come.
It's a really interesting psychology point that you brought up of focusing on the negative, and the more that you kind of try and steer away from it, it creeps into your mind. But I think again, like you said, if someone's higher than you, they're never going to knock you. And the way I like to think about it is, if I'm running a marathon, there's 95 people there that are experienced and they're cheering you on, but there's five people that are kind of telling you you can't do it. You wouldn't focus on those five people if they were actually there in person. But for some weird reason online, it does creep in and it does really sometimes get to you. Is there any particular things that do get to you more than others?
I don't know, man. Like, I'm sure there would be things if I looked back over the years. I think like people that don't recognize the work that actually goes into, I guess, running a business full time. I know it is very glorified, and it's probably a lot to do with the fact that the stuff I post is all the highlights. But a lot of people say like overnight success and fucking daddy's money and all that stuff, which I find very funny. But yeah, nothing really stands out, to be honest. It all kind of falls into the same pool of, people always going to have a different opinion. A lot of people are going to voice those opinions. And if you're, uh, if you're confident enough in what you're doing, and the thing I always fall back to when I tell people who are getting hate, if you're like genuinely doing something that doesn't affect anyone else or anything in a negative light, just run for it, dude, and do whatever you want and take it as far as you can. Because if you know deep down that you're actually not doing anything wrong and the message you're spreading isn't negative or pessimistic and you are spreading positive inspiration and light, then man, who cares about what they say, Just keep
Yeah.
pushing.
Are you at all grateful for that criticism that you had early on? Because I mean, I look at it from a point of view of I've grown up, I've played sport, there's been a lot of sledges that have been said, but in a way that's made me a lot more resilient to comments now. I mean, like you said, you have to lean into it. If you try and fight the nickname, it usually sticks.
Yeah.
Are all of these things that you're happy that you had to go through?
Yeah, 100%, man. It's all adversity and that creates experience, and experience creates a good time. So I think also like my friend group, we've known each other for years now, and we're all very honest with each other. And any time that I've put out something that maybe did deserve a bit of flack before anyone else online could say it, my mates were telling me, and they're honest about it and they're like constructive about it. But I think having genuine people around you, I think, yeah, dude, just look forward to it. I look forward to it now when people have a crack online or they say something. I don't know, it's like, to get negative backlash, you're obviously making enough noise in the first place where, these people are still watching at the end of the day, and that's all that matters. So
Was there a tipping point where you noticed people becoming more positive towards your content? Was it 10K, 20K, 100K? Because at some point you must have thought, well, it's working and I'm creating a life that I want to live out of this.
yeah, 100%. I definitely do think the numbers reflect that, which I find a bit silly. But I think the biggest thing which turns people from haters to people that actually enjoy your content and get around what you're doing and your mission and your journey and your story is once you start to have a bit of longevity and you got start looking like an overnight success and someone that's just currently trending and you stick for a few years. 'Cause some people look at you like, fuck, this bloke's still going. He still hasn't given in. He's still not listened to the shit we've been commenting for the last 4.5 years. So maybe he really is playing a long game and maybe he like is living this life. So yeah, I think longevity, if you can stick through it and people recognize that, you'll find a lot of the haters and a lot of the people that leave those comments will usually flip around. Happens with almost every single influencer, especially in Australia that I've seen. And
Why
yeah,
why do you think that is in Australia with the tall poppy syndrome?
yeah, I don't know. Like, I wish I knew an answer to the question or how to solve it, but I think tall poppy syndrome in Australia will always be very prevalent. I think people love to say that they want to see you doing well, but then when they do, it makes them uncomfortable if you ever get close to where they're at or better than them, which is just an absolutely crazy concept to think about, especially when it's the people around you that you think are your friends. I think online it's more prevalent than ever, tall poppy syndrome. especially for anyone that's trying to do something a little bit out of the ordinary, a little bit different to the norm, putting themselves out there a little bit more than others are. That's I would love to sort that out one day, but
Yeah.
dude, full poverty syndrome I feel is always going to be an issue in Australia, unfortunately. And like if you go to the USA and you look at the culture there, especially around content and the whole social media space, it's that tall poppy syndrome doesn't exist in the slightest.
Mm.
Everyone absolutely encourages one another to give it a crack and to start that business and to post that first video. But here in Australia, unfortunately, it's not like that. But you know,
Yeah.
I see it as a positive because I see it as a positive if you've got the resilience to push through because there's less competition.
Well, you mentioned your mates, like social circles are so important. There's a difference between someone keeping you accountable and someone not wanting to see you succeed, right? They're not the same people. Someone who keeps you accountable is, look, mate, this one was a little bit far. This one was a little bit,
Yeah,
strange. Whereas
yeah,
someone trying to keep you mediocre and keep them or keep you in the same level as them, they're telling you not to post. They're slightly taking the mick out of you in a negative way and telling you it's not going to work. So that is a big difference. Was there any point where you kind of had to change your social circles because of that?
no, not really, man. Yeah, since I came out of school, I've been pretty much connected with the exact same friend group of mates for the last 4.5 years since I've been 18. And yeah, I hang out with quite a lot older, not a lot older, but all my friends are like, at that age now where they're getting married and having kids and they're getting houses, which is great to see. And we're all super supportive of each other and we all work in very different industries and we all are on these quite different paths. So it's really cool to see how the dynamic is there through the friendship itself, not through, getting connected through what we do for work. But yeah, I think it's pretty clear for other people out there to find out who the genuine friends are. And dude, the hardest thing is stepping away from people that you're so connected with, but you feel are not aligned. I feel like, especially at our age, growing up in your early 20s, like sometimes that's one of the most pivotal things you can do is getting out of a certain friend group that you're comfortable with, but maybe aren't aligned with the places you want to go, or they're not supportive of the goals that you have for yourself. And it's rough, but sometimes you just got to take that leap and step away. And, by stepping away, you'll open yourself up to new opportunities and to new people down the line. And you'll look back in 6 months and you'll be 10 times more grateful.
It's a really funny one with online content and some external kind of voices coming in. I remember being in high school and you and I are a very similar age, so we would have sort of come through at the same time. But there were times in high school where I was trying to make content and trying to put things out there just to sort of get my name out there.
Mm,
And there were people within high school who you'd walk down the halls and they would say things to you or do certain things and you'd go, oh, okay, like maybe I deserve that one. And, they were on these high horses. And now, kind of 6 years out of high school, I see these people online trying to post what I was posting when I was in high school.
yeah.
So I think everyone's kind of going through their own thing. Don't take the negative comments too personally. And like you said earlier, just stay in your own lane, do what you're trying to do, because if it succeeds, well, you've made a life for yourself.
Yeah, 100%, man. And yeah, just be kind, bro. And then, like through your content and, be be humble enough that when you see a negative comment, you can understand the place it's coming from. Because there's been plenty of times, dude, over the last 4 years where I probably wanted to leave a negative comment, but then in that moment, I'll fucking look at myself like, all right, maybe this is a bit of a self projection, or maybe this is a two-way mirror, I'm looking at right now. So yeah, if you can try and look at comments you're getting from that perspective and try and emphasize the person, realize, it's not coming from a place you ever want to be in, then it doesn't matter.
Speaking about trying to build things, I mean, you've built multiple businesses from yacht parties to sunglass companies to surf brands. What made you want to start those type of businesses in the first place?
Well, my first business outside of like the stuff I did in high school with the freelance, my first real business was, I guess you would say One Palm. I founded that and started 2023, a surfwear company selling board shorts specifically to the Australian market. I guess that came through a love of surfing. I grew up as a surfer, obviously from Western Australia. Started working at the local surf shop at like 14 years old at the same surf school at the same time. Worked there for 4 years and, my whole life was resolved around the surf industry. I was filming for some of the biggest surf companies in Western Australia at the time, shooting for surfers and for brands, and absolutely just fell in love with the industry. And alongside that, coming out of school, never wanted to go into a normal job and never wanted to, go to university because I didn't really see any degrees or anything worth my time or interesting enough for me to commit to. And always loved the world of business. And I think from hanging out with older people and always being surrounded by people that started their businesses growing up really inspired me and just, yeah, got connected from working at that surf shop with manufacturers, business partners, investors, and yeah, founded One Palm, started 2023. Been running that for the last, well, almost coming up to 3 years. I've actually temporarily closed that down about 2 months ago, just before summer started, just to, I guess, take a step back and look at actually what I want to do and what's going to last me, over the next 5, 10 years. And the way I was running the business currently wasn't really working. So I've shifted onto other stuff now. Natropica being my main baby and my main week by week workflow, which is ecom eyewear brand. We also throw ticketed yacht parties around Australia in over 4 different states. We do yacht chartering. We're like an Uber for yachts. If you got a corporate event, a Bucks party, a 21st birthday, we'll supply you for yacht and do your whole package from the DJ to the catering to the alcohol. And alongside that, we sell eyewear and stuff too. So I'm still young. I'm still super new to the whole business world, to be honest, even though I've been doing it for the last 4 or 5 years. I've got so much to learn, and it's just, it's addictive, man. It's like a video game that every day you feel like an absolute rookie out, and it's just full of problem solving and giving a better solution to the market that's not already out there. So yeah.
Talk to me about the yacht party because I feel like so many young people want to start a business, but I would find it extremely rare to hear someone wanting to start a business in terms of, renting out yachts. Where did that come from?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think growing up in Western Australia, I love to party. Me and my mates all love to party, but we've never liked going to clubs or even festivals sometimes get a bit too much. And we've always grown up partying on boats, having raft ups around Rottnest Island, down south, Perth. Yeah, I guess last year I was living in the Gold Coast for 6 months. My best mate Jamie was also living a bit further north on an island, running a venue over there. And we pretty much had the idea of like just throwing a party, just the two of us, and just selling tickets. And we're like, fuck, we got a few social media followers. Boat's got 200 people on it. Like, I'm sure we can sell these out through our social media. We did it, and we ended up selling out overnight. And then the next day, like, fuck, let's do another one straight off the back of it the next weekend. Sold that one out the next day. And we're like, dude, this is a pretty cool business. Like, we don't own any yachts. We don't plan to own any yachts, to be honest. But if we can use our social media skills and our marketing skills to be able to charter out existing yachts around Australia and then fill them out and take a cut of the ticket price and the alcohol sales, we've got a pretty good business in our hands. And we ran with it. And we did that for the whole calendar year last year, 2025. We've threw over, I think it was 22 events between Perth, the Gold Coast, Brisbane, and Melbourne. All of them selling out, all of them being absolutely a great time. And yeah, I guess the business has just evolved from there. So
What do you think your biggest mistake has been so far in running your businesses?
financial, 100%. I've always hated numbers. I've always hated looking at cash flow, at profit, my expenses every month, how much I'm taking out for myself to live this lifestyle. And I think not spending enough time on educating myself about finances and how to, run a cash flow and understanding that if you do $20,000 in sales, that doesn't mean you got $20,000 in your bank. Yeah, I've just put it off for a very long time because I didn't look forward to learning it. And over the last year, I've been absolutely pumped by some pretty big financial bills within the business by putting off these dumb mistakes. And it's just forced me pretty much to learn it from the ground up, how to run a business properly, you know, how to work forward towards positive cash flow every week, how to, you know, do all of it. And it's saved me a lot of headaches. And yeah, it's not sexy at all, but it's the backbone of a business.
I think that's probably something that probably most new business owners wouldn't know before going in unless you have some sort of degree within business. So I guess that's a really great
Yeah.
kind of thing to hear for young people wanting to go into perhaps that sort of industry where your upfront costs and your running costs are something that you need to keep in mind as you go along. But it's one of those life lessons that I think you kind of have to learn as a business owner.
Yeah, 100%. I think, yeah, if I could go back 3 years before I started One Palm and do one thing, it would be to learn finances and specifically to running a business. Yeah, I just absolutely winged it, and I never got onto an accountant, I never got into a bookkeeper, I never got onto any of that stuff. I never bothered to learn about it just because I was like, I just want to fucking make good quality board shorts and sell them and film cool shit in them and keep doing that. I didn't want to learn about numbers. I didn't want to fucking open up a zero account. But it turns out that doesn't really work, unfortunately, running the business, and you have to learn that stuff. And it's probably the most pivotal thing to business success is understanding that from an early point and implementing practices every single month to manage your finances properly and take home money, not just fucking blow it down the drain.
My next question would be, you mentioned earlier about posting the highlights of your life to social media and people saying you're a bit of an overnight success. On social media, it does look like, you live the dream. Beach days, you're with your mates, you have business success. What's the reality behind that image of day to day life? Because I always hear celebrities and influencers say they're just regular people and live regular lives. Do you ever feel pressure to live up to that lifestyle that you post online?
Yeah, 100% I used to, not so much anymore. I've been focusing a lot on actually growing a bit more of a healthy relationship with social media. I found I got so sucked into the numbers and the followers and the views and all that sort of stuff for, you know, the last 3 or 4 years. And it just became so toxic. And my whole mood and my whole energy and self worth was tied to how I was performing on social media that week or how my video went the night before, and I'd wake up and I'd check it first thing, and if it didn't hit my expectation, it would ruin my day, and it was toxic, man. I think it was necessary because it made me really obsessed, and it got me to the point I am now, but I think now as I guess, pivot more from social media being my main priority to creating wealth with real business that can last the test of time for the next 5, 10, 15 years, I've really tried to step away from living up to the character that maybe a lot of people saw me as on social media. And in terms of day-to-day workflow, like, man, at the end of the day, I think it's pretty evident now, but social media is just a highlight reel. It's pretty rare you're ever gonna see someone posting the shit times, the bad times, the struggles, the highlights, the rainy days, it's all the highlights of the week, what went well, the holidays, the laughs, the memories, and yeah, it's definitely very toxic if you're easily, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? No, it's like comparison, thief of comparison. That's what I'm talking about. Um, and like I still get that heaps of even guys that are bigger than me on social media and guys that are doing business and bigger scale than I am. And yeah, I've really had to kind of step away from that and not put so much pressure on it and kind of now trying to shift my content more towards, being more authentic and showing the ins and outs of the day, the business, what it actually looks like. And yeah, it's definitely not as sexy as it looks like, but it's still a good time, man. And just remembering at the end of the day that social media is a highlight reel and there's a lot more stuff that goes into, I guess, a lot of these influencers' lives and what it sends out on social media.
You mentioned obviously the numbers thing is what made you obsessed and that's what made you kind of work harder. Do you regret that though? Would you advocate for someone to not try and put as much authority in the numbers towards their life if it means they're going to be successful?
I think it's 100% necessary. I think it's just a sacrifice at the end of the day that's totally worth it. I think being obsessed, like not even for social media, whatever it was just a period of my life. It was like 2, 3 years where I was just insanely obsessed about social media. I didn't care about partying. I didn't care about girls. I didn't care about any of that stuff. It was like solely my mind was just focused on what's the next video I post that gets 1 million views. And in particular, when I first blew up on TikTok with that, I came out of school, graduated 2021, went to Levers the next week. And then the day I came home from Levers, my first ever video, like, I guess went viral. It was the first ever day in the life I posted. hit about 4 million views overnight. And at that time, I'd been posting videos for like 7 years already without ever getting more than 10,000 views on a video. So I was like over the moon. I was like, fuck, this is crazy. And pretty much did the same concept of video, the day in the life stuff, every day for the next week, just to see how it went, if the momentum kept going, or if it was just a one hit wonder. Every single video banged like 2, 3 million views. And from there, it was just like the next 120 days. I didn't take a single day off, posted a day in the life every single day, which sounds nice in theory, but when you think about it, you're like you're filming yourself getting out of bed in the morning. You're filming yourself doing every single activity during the day, from showering to making breakfast to sitting down at your computer to driving the car to going out with your mates. Every single little interaction, you're filming yourself going to bed at night. Then you're sitting in your studio, putting the clips together, doing a voiceover at like 11 p.m., going to bed at 12, and then waking up at 5 a.m., doing it all over again. And first thing you're doing is checking how the video day before went, and then basing a whole day off the views that got. And I was stuck in that cycle for like 3 or 4 months. And like I said, as a sacrifice, I don't regret it at all. I lived the best life ever, and it was so much fun. And I think the obsession was definitely necessary, but it gets to a point where you get so burnt out and you build such a toxic relationship with social media where you just live in this fantasy land where it's just numbers on a screen that you're getting obsessed by at the end of the day. It doesn't mean anything, dude. Yeah, it leads to some pretty cool opportunities and whatnot, but at the end of the day, the real world and your self worth and your self respect is a lot more important than that. And that's what I've been, I guess, focusing on the last year to rebuild, and can confidently say I'm a lot more happy now out of that obsession, but I don't regret it at all.
Talking about that sacrifice and obsession, I think no matter what you want to do, if you want to be successful at it, it's something that you have to go through. I don't have that social media presence that you have, but putting it in terms of my own things, of like my studies. I mean, I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. And I
Yeah.
look back and you go, yeah, well, I was studying at 3 a.m. I was obsessed. I was sacrificing good sleep. I was sacrificing potentially some friendships, some potential relationships in order to, put something and work towards my goal. And I look back at it and I go, was it healthy? Probably not.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it was necessary in order to achieve what you wanted to achieve and to get the results that you wanted to get. And looking back at it, you absolutely go, man, like that was pretty tough and yeah, it wasn't healthy, but I'm glad I did it.
Yeah. And it's all worth it at the end of the day, man. I think everyone's meant to go through a stage of deep obsession, whatever it is they're doing. If you're studying, if you're at university, if you're starting a business, if you're training for a marathon, whatever it is. And like, I want to make it clear, like being a social media influencer is fucking the easiest job in the world. I do not think that creating content full time and whatever that goes along with it is a hard job. And I think that any influencer that says that is just living in this illusion, this fantasy world, and they're so out of touch with reality. But, there's still a lot that comes with it. The hate comments, yeah, toxic relationship yourself and the numbers on the screen. But at the end of the day, man, like I could never try and complain about what I do or the sacrifices I've had to make. My life's been absolutely blessed over the last 4 years, and I'm like eternally grateful for it.
What's the trade off for you? Because you're obviously now at a stage where you're considered quite successful. The trade off might be something like your privacy of lifestyle or peace and quiet when you go out. What have you had to pay for that?
Honestly, like social media, yeah, I don't see too many downsides except for the hate comments. I'll be honest, it's blessed, it's easy, and yeah, I couldn't think of an easier career to be honest, in my opinion. I would say over the last couple of years, like last 2025 specifically, especially now heading into this year, I've kind of like social media's definitely gone on the back foot, and it's just been about building, actual businesses, which has proven to be infinitely times more challenging than creating a video on Instagram. But yeah, like it looks like a highlight reel online, and you see all these nice days down at the beach and on the boats and the jet skis and the yachts of hot chicks drinking beers. It's a great time, but in reality, man, that's about 5% of my life. Like I've been sitting in the studio since freaking 4 a.m. this morning on back-to-back meetings and calls and building out ad campaigns and Meta and this is the reality of it, man. Like it's like 12-hour days outside of all the other stuff of, sacrificing fucking, well, my mates have 2 weeks off their FIFO when they're down at the beach every day. I'm trying to fucking put ads on the internet and build a business because I see the long-term return in it. But at the end of the day, I love what I do. I don't complain about it at all. And I think the trade-off, if you're truly obsessed with it, truly enjoy what you're doing, is always worth it. So
You've taken a lot of risks in terms of business, of terms of putting yourself out there on the internet for, like you said, those negative comments. What would be your biggest case to put forward to someone for them to chase their goals and their dreams, even when it sometimes feels unrealistic?
dude, I seen this quote the other day and it's fucking inspired me to do a lot of change over the last few days. And I'll relay it to you because I feel like it answers your question perfectly. But the quote pretty much went about the sentence either reduce your desires or increase your sacrifice. I don't know if you've heard it before. I've seen this guy on social media from Texas that I follow, and pretty much in theory is that if you've got all these dreams that you want to achieve one day, whatever they are, it could be buying your own home, it could be, building a loving family with a beautiful partner, could be getting into better shape physically, mentally, more spiritual, whatever it is, making $1 million, flying private, whatever it is, everyone's got different dreams, right? The way to get there is simply to reduce your desire or increase your sacrifice. Increase your sacrifice is pretty simple. It's pretty clear for most people to be able to realize in their life what's stopping them between where they are now and where they want to get to. It might be alcohol, might be the constant going out, might be partying too much, it might be not focusing enough on putting in deep, long work hours, whatever it is. But if you're not willing to increase your sacrifice, you simply got to reduce your desire, which is look at those dreams you have and realize you're just not going to get there one day. If you keep living the way you do now and you're not going to increase your sacrifice. And it really hit me the other day because there's been a few things over the last couple of years that I've been willing to sacrifice. I'm still young. I love to party and I like to have the occasional drink on the weekend and I like to go out with my mates and say yes to every single event. But after hearing that the other day, I was like, fuck, if I'm not willing to give that up, then I've got to reduce my desire and be okay with never reaching that potential. And that just hit me because I don't know about you or whoever's listening to this, but I'm not wired that way. Like I can't just reduce my desire. So the only other option would be to increase my sacrifice. I know. I think after hearing that, it was like the most something has clicked and hopefully it can click for whoever's listening and can resonate for them too.
For me, it's a big what if thing. What if it does work and you do get on the other side and there is success? I think if you go after it and you don't succeed, I think you can sleep pretty well at night knowing you gave it a good crack.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's not about reaching the destination ever. It's about going 100% into the journey, knowing you gave it your all, and going to bed every night knowing that you controlled 100% of the inputs, not the outputs, because the outputs is all fantasy. It doesn't exist. You get into the destination, it's just an idea, a fantasy. But what you can control is the inputs that can possibly lead you to get there. And if you can give that your 100%, and if you can go to bed every single night knowing, fuck, I gave it my all today, I did everything I said I was going to do, I was a man of my word, and I'm moving myself in the right direction, that's all that matters.
I saw one of your social media posts about killing the old version of yourself and growing into a new you and treating your life like a video game. What does that mean to you, and how can people listening to this implement that into their lives?
Understanding that if you're not happy in your situation that you're in now, like you can literally change your life within a day. You can rebrand yourself whenever you want with the right mental switch, and that it's an identity issue. It's not that you're not at the place you want to be now, that you want to get to. Sorry, now it's you're not acting like the person that's deserving of that now. Switching your mindset and flipping your habits into the person that's deserving of the place you want to get to one day is all it takes. Doesn't mean you have to be 100% perfect. It means you just have to be at least getting 1% better each day. And if you can treat your different areas of your life in little buckets and they're on a little meter between one and 100, just like a video game, and every day you get a chance to improve those scores, those skills, and it just makes it a little bit more bite sized, a little bit more achievable, and a little bit more gamified, which I
Yeah.
find makes the journey a little bit more enjoyable. So,
Look, Dylan, if somebody listening to this only remembers one thing from this conversation and walks away with one thing, what would you want that message to be?
you truly only get one life, dude. This ain't gonna happen again. It's not gonna be in some other life or some afterlife. No one knows what's gonna happen after your final breath. The future and the past don't exist. All you truly have is the moment right now. When you're watching this video, when I'm talking to you right now, this is literally all we have, dude. Like, what I'm doing tomorrow, what I did yesterday, that doesn't even exist anymore. That was in the present moment, that existed then. But right now, only thing that exists is right in front of you. And the sooner you realize that you truly only have one life and you've only got one shot at making this worth it. And if you feel like you are a bit more wired for something greater than the current position you're in now, then you've only got one shot at making it work. So give it your all.
Dylan, you've been absolutely amazing. You've been fantastic. I'm super excited to see what comes next for you and your brands with the yachts and the Natropica, the sunglasses company. Where can people find you and all of that stuff?
At Dylan James Bryan on Instagram and TikTok, around the Perth, around the West Coast. If you see me in person, come say hi. We'll have a chat. And yeah, thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for the questions, mate. It was great. Appreciate you reaching out, and let's do it again soon.
Beautiful. Thanks, mate.